Oh, there's nobody there. Smiling for no reason. We have 3 minutes until the actual RV Women Hangout begins. I just thought that I would come on early in case anybody came on early. Okay. So we wait for 2 minutes. I'm watching PBS right now. I like PBS. Oh, hello, 4 viewers. Hello, Buffy Crumlick. How are you? We have another 2 minutes. Yes, I did. I didn't? Are you sure? Where am I located now? Let me go over and see. I did send you the link. Okay, where am I located now? Right now, I am in California. And I arrived here on Monday. I guess I can turn this off. Okay, where am I located now? Right now, I am in California. You have to turn off your other channel. Buffy Crumlick. Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
Hey. Doctor has come to lose John.
This is what we look like. We are, oh my God. I haven't had hardly any sleep.
Okay,
but
we are live now.
Okay, all right.
Just thought I'd tell you. Okay. Wow, you drive fast. I left on Tuesday, the 22nd, and drove cross country, arriving here on Monday. So that was 6 days. And it was 6 days of really hard driving. And what I was trying to do, oh, it's 4 o'clock and it's time for the RV Women Hangout. So let me start over and tell you what I was just talking about. I am in California. I arrived here on Monday. I left South Carolina on the 22nd after the eclipse. Well, the day after the eclipse. And then I drove straight through. I did drive I came across on the 40 as opposed to what I thought I was going to do, which was go across on the 20. And it was just too hot. I was melting bad. And but I am here, and the reason I was in a hurry to get here was my grandson's first birthday was on the 30th, and so I wanted to make sure that I was definitely here by the 30th. I had planned on arriving on Tuesday the 29th, but I changed my schedule around a little in driving. Is going to, okay, never mind. Hi, Lori. Bye, Lori. I guess you're signing off because your internet connection is not very good. But I changed my route due to the heat, and also I did a stint of, I drove for about 6 hours. I don't even think it was that long, honestly, 5 hours. And then I held up until 2 o'clock in the morning. And that was when I was in Flagstaff, Arizona. And the reason I held out until 2 o'clock in the morning was because I wanted to drive across the Mojave Desert. That was registering at about 115 during the day, 115 degrees during the day. And so I really didn't want to put the RV through that kind of heat, nor myself, nor Zip. So we left at 2 o'clock in the morning, which brings me to the subject that I've chosen for today, which is be prepared. And here's why. Okay, I am I'm pretty prepared. You know, I've got a lot of tools. I have a lot of knowledge as to how to fix stuff, and can handle most, you know, catastrophes. But the other thing that I also have is, of course, AAA roadside assistance. Now, roadside assistance is really fabulous if you know where you are. If you can't tell them where you are, then it's not so fabulous. And it doesn't matter who the roadside assistance is with. If you can't tell them where you are, then you're kind of, you know, screwed. So anyway, on the day that I arrived in Flagstaff, Arizona, I went down a forestry road, and I was following directions, given by the Russos, who have a channel here on YouTube, RVing channel, and they had found a boondocking location near Flagstaff, not too far off the highway. And so I was kind of following those directions, though I actually didn't make it to the boondocking location that they had suggested. But I was on a forestry road. Did I know the name of the forestry road? No. Did I know it was called Forestry Road? Yeah, that's all I know. But it's like Forestry Road 51 or Forestry Road 87. You know, it's got a name. I just didn't know it. So anyway, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up now understand, me getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning is not that big a deal, because I wake up every day, no matter what time zone I'm in, at 4. Unless I'm sick, and then I don't. But at 4 o'clock in the morning, I get up and function. So anyway, I got up and made my tea and got everything ready to head down the road, turned the key in the ignition, and the battery was dead. I had left my inverter on, along with several things plugged into the little ports, the little, what are they called? DC ports on the dashboard, you know, like to charge my phone and stupid stuff. And over the course of the evening, for whatever reason, it drained my battery. And so I had no battery. Now, I do have a battery pack, but I also had a puppy. And so what did that puppy do one night when I was sleeping? Chewed through the cord that recharges my battery charger. Yeah. So I had fixed it, and very poorly, because I didn't have a soldering gun. So I just put the wires together and put tape around them, and I had charged and it charged very bad, very poorly, but I did have a charge on my battery pack. Now, if you're not familiar with these battery packs, they're just the clippy things, and it's just a big battery that, you know, delivers a charge to your battery when you need to jumpstart your battery. So I looked at it and looked at the amount of charge that it had, and knew that I had maybe one jump. Now, the other thing that I did, and that this RV has, is the ability for me to push a button on the console, and the house batteries will help start the engine. Okay, so I turned on the generator for the RV, thank God for the generator, and then I hooked up the battery pack to the engine battery, and between those batteries, I got the RV started while simultaneously on hold with AAA, so that I could maybe guide them in the event that it didn't work to my location. And so, and this is what made me think about doing yourself a favor and being prepared for everything. And it is real easy to sit in an RV park and have the knowledge and comfort of knowing that there are people that are standing around ready to help you. But in this particular instance, there was no one. I was on a forestry road, parked under a pine, and had those two things not worked, I would have ended up having to probably stay an extra day in Flagstaff just so AAA could find me to jumpstart my battery, or disconnect my Suzuki, or I would have had to disconnect the Suzuki. And this is the other thing that I did, was I was afraid, because I was driving at night, that the little, those little magnetic lights that people stick on vehicles when they don't have lights on their vehicle when they're towing it, tow lights. Well, what I had done to make sure that vehicles could see me as I was coming across the Mojave was I used the Suzuki's parking lights and lit those up, as well as having the magnetic tail lights on. So I didn't want anybody running into me in the middle of the night. So that battery was dead as well. Was that right? Yeah. Well, maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. But long story short, had the RV not started, I would have had to wait until somebody could come and help me and jumpstart. And I don't have jumper cables. I have the battery backup. That's what I have. And so am I going to be buying a new one? Yeah. Or maybe I'll just buy a soldering gun. And a long time ago, I don't know if any of you have been around long enough to know who Yarv was, but he and I were hanging out in Arizona for a couple of weeks. And he asked to borrow my soldering gun, and then I never got it back again. So I have to go and buy a soldering gun. And it's for little repairs like this, and, don't get a puppy and put it in an RV with wires. So anyway, there are a lot of things that I have done to be prepared for a lot of things. Always having a sufficient amount of water on board. I was going to cross the Mojave Desert. I did not want to go across that desert with any chance of not having a sufficient amount of water to maybe have to put water in the radiator, let alone take a shower and drink it, those two things. But also for whatever engine emergency that would be involved, I wanted to be able to have a sufficient amount of water on board. And the other thing, there are a few things that really save you in many instances, and one of those things is simple and easy and fits in every vehicle, and that's duct tape. If you have a blown radiator hose, a cracked radiator hose, and you're leaking water and you're crossing the Mojave Desert, okay, yeah, this has never happened to me, but this is where my brain goes. It is something that can temporarily fix a radiator hose so that you can get to the next repair facility. And having duct tape with you all the time is really RV life looks like a lot of work. It is no more work than maintaining a house. It's the same thing. The difference is some things in your house you can put off or postpone or whatever. Things in an RV you cannot. It is something that requires some skill. It is not a lifestyle for people who are afraid of lifting the hood and trying to figure out what's wrong, or who don't know how to jumpstart a battery, or who, don't understand the mechanics or mechanisms that are on board an RV, and it's just like your house. You know, when your refrigerator quits in your house, do you just say, gee, I'm just going to go buy a new refrigerator? Or do you try to assess what's wrong or call a repair person to find out what's wrong? Same thing, same. You know, I've got a refrigerator, I've got a stove, you know, it runs on propane. You know, the advantage that an RV has over a bricks and sticks house is that if I'm out of propane, I can always plug the refrigerator into electricity. If I don't have electricity, I can run it on propane. If I don't have a shoreline to plug into or propane, I can turn on my generator and run my generator, and that will run my refrigerator so that my food doesn't, you know, rot in the refrigerator while I'm assessing why one thing or another doesn't work. It's something that it's kind of like when you go out and buy a new car. You know, some people don't read the manual. I'm not that person. I read the manual. I want to know. I want to know how things work. I pay attention when I'm spending money to have something repaired on my RV. And on that note, let me tell you another story. When I got here on Monday, and as I was driving cross country, when I was driving cross country, I developed an oil leak on after they'd changed the oil. He didn't do something right, or something happened, or whatever, oil leak. So I knew it was happening. I was checking the oil very regularly to make sure I wasn't running low on any kind of fluid, you know, oil for the engine. And you know, and that's another thing, you know, you're just prepared. You have 4 quarts of oil in your RV at all times. Or in your car, you should have a quart of oil in your trunk, just in case. You're someplace and you're low on oil. It's very hard on an engine not to have oil, you know, where it's supposed to be. So anyway, I took the RV in to have the oil changed, and that's why I wasn't worried about it, because I was putting 3,000 miles on the RV driving it, so I was going to have the oil changed when I got to California anyway. So I made an appointment and I took it in, and he showed me why it was leaking, and it was not the last guy's fault. It was the fault of this thing. But anyway, when I dropped the RV off, I said, if you could take a look at the air conditioner, that would be really fabulous. And so, and what I said was the RV's air conditioner. Now, I wasn't specific, but that's okay too, because what they did was fixed. Oh gosh, let me fix my phone here, because somebody is like texting me. Okay, let's clear that. Let's go here. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, and so the dash air was not working. But when I was talking about the RV's air conditioner, I was talking about the big one on the roof. But what he did was he fixed the dash air, and I'm glad that he did it. It cost me $100, big deal. And basically what was wrong with it was that it had blown a fuse. And so basically I've been driving around with no dash air conditioning over a fuse. Yeah. He charged me $100 for a fuse. I mean, he did say he put more Freon in it and put that dye stuff in it. But it was just, you know, I wasn't specific when I was talking to them, and I really should have been. And I don't know that they actually even do that. But now I have really great front AC. So, you know, bonus. And my oil change is done. And so now I am parked in my daughter and son-in-law's driveway and doing the RV Women Hangout. Now, as far as being prepared, are there things that you RVing women out there do to be prepared beyond, like just your basic, basic toolkit, and or do you just not even bother? I'm just really curious about this. If you bother to do it, if you just drive it to a mechanic's, or what is it that you actually do? Hold on. Obviously, I need to text these people. What do you guys do? Do you do nothing? Do you just rely on? And here's the other thing for you women who want to go out and solo RV. I know this is probably not the epiphany that, I have every time I do this, but it's harder to do this by yourself. To be able to take all the responsibility, incorporate all the knowledge about all of the systems that are on an RV, about all the mechanics that are on an RV, to only have yourself to rely on is really a tough thing, not to mention just driving. It would have been fabulous to have somebody else who could drive. That would have been awesome. One thing we got for Miss Daisy, 5-in-1 portable power pack with Jumpstart. Yeah, and that's what I just got the one from, I don't know who makes it, but I just got mine from Harbor Freight. The guinea fowl went to a neighbor. Went to a neighbor's house there in North Carolina. So, as a matter of fact, one of the text messages that I was just getting was from him. And Centec, that's what I have. I have a Centec. I don't know that it's a 5-in-1. I know it's got a flashlight, it's got the jumpers, it's got a little DC port on it. So that's 3, right? So maybe mine's just a 3-in-1. Don't know. But yeah, dog chewed through wire. So if the wire doesn't, and you're supposed to leave them plugged in, you're supposed to leave them plugged into AC power, and then they just charge all the time, keeps the battery nice and charged up. Yeah, I guess I have a 3-in-1, and I want to say it costs like $40. I probably had a coupon because that's who I am. But the concept of being prepared, whether it's a medical emergency, life-threatening, there's another RVer, Chico. You might be familiar with him. He has been in the hospital for about 4 months off and on, and blood clots in his legs or something of that ilk. I don't know specifically, what his ailment is, but, he has 5-in-1, yeah, totally worth having the 5-in-1. I don't know what the other 2 things are that it does, but just having a, he was just back in and out now. I saw his latest video, a couple of days ago or yesterday or something. I don't know. All these days were kind of blurred together. But, but let me say this about the women who are going to do this solo. there are a lot of things to know. There's a lot of reading to do. There's a lot of investigating. It's knowing more than get behind the wheel and drive. It's being able to sustain yourself not only in the good times but in the bad times too. And you know, having a GPS, which is something I'm going to get as soon as I find out whether or not tow companies actually have GPS. And because I'm not going to get, because that's the only reason that I would want one. And I'm sure there's an app for that on my phone. I can probably utilize my phone to get GPS coordinates of my location. USB and charge phones. Oh, okay. So it has a USB port. And mine does not have a USB port. But it's one of those things that in the event that somebody does need to find you an ambulance, and you're boondocking, you know, if you can send them the coordinates, will that get help to you? See, I don't know that that will. I don't know that they don't strictly work off addresses. You know, if you don't have an address, I don't know what they do. And so, you know, once again, just to be prepared, these are the kinds of things that I need to know. If I have cell signal in a remote boondocking location and I can call 911 and give them the coordinates of where I am, can they then find me? Or do they just say, oh, gee, we don't do that? I don't know. I have no idea. Oh, and I can inflate the tires too, because that's the other thing that I've decided that I need is an inflator. And once again, I'm like, hi, Dawn. You know, I don't have an air compressor of any kind. And so I know that they should be able to find you with GPS coordinates. I get that they should, but the question is, do they? There are a lot of things in life that should work or should be happening or should, but that doesn't mean they do. Now, I know that AAA, for example, will not come out to a boondocking location if it does not have an address. You have to know what the address is for AAA, or they don't come. But I don't know if the technology has caught up with them. When I phoned AAA, for example, here's what the recording said. And anybody who calls AAA, you're going to get the same recording, which is, you know, we use cell towers to bounce your signal off so that we're putting you in the correct location for whatever your emergent need is. Okay, so understand my phone, which I haven't changed yet, but has a area code from North Carolina. Who did they connect me with? North Carolina AAA. Where was I? Flagstaff, Arizona. So, you know, that was the first thing that I said to the guy was, I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. And he said, let me connect you with Arizona. But that call had to go all the way to North Carolina and then come all the way back to Arizona, and which is why I called them before I actually, you know, thought I needed them, was because I knew that something like that was going to happen, where there was going to be some difficulty in providing my location to them if I ever got the right people on the phone. Now, you got to figure that a tow company, for example, you know, they're in the area, they probably know stuff like roads, or they have a map, or they've been there before or something. But my problem, again, was I was on a forestry road that was called something number, Forestry Road, 51, 36, 87. I have no idea what the number was. But you know, they've got a bunch of them, and they're all called number Forestry Road. So these are the things that if you are a current RVer, if you are considering an RV life, if you're at all interested in pursuing an RV life, it's wonderful. I love it. But there are simply things that you need to do to be prepared. Unlike those homeowners in Louisiana and in Texas, when you are a full-time RVer, yeah, you turn on the ignition if your battery starts, and you drive your house away. Some people don't have the ability to do that. A lot of those people, many of the people in Louisiana, they don't have the cars or whatever to be able to get themselves out of harm's way. And, that's basically what you're trying to do as a full-time RVer, is just keep yourself out of harm's way. And knowing where you are is always so helpful. And there have been many instances where, yeah, I don't know where I am. I really don't. The other thing was, for whatever reason, I had set my cell phone on an Eastern time zone and it wasn't automatically updating. So, it's just like all the little things just kind of drive you crazy, depending on how you want to RV. The other thing is, I'm sure many of you have heard that there was a couple that were they're full-time RVers, a younger couple, I would say probably in their 30s, if that, and they were on their Vespa motor scooter thing, and I don't really know any of the particulars, but I simply do know that they were hit by a car, and he died, and she is in very, very poor condition. I have not heard about an update. Oh, he was 37. Okay. And, once again, being prepared for whatever the emergency is really necessary, especially when you're in an RV. If you are injured, yeah, it is a really sad situation. But if you're injured, you have to, whether you're conscious or not, be able to have something on you, especially like if I'm in my Suzuki or like they were on their Vespa. How do people figure out where they've come from? If neither of them are able to convey that information, how do emergency responders know they're living in an RV, that their RV is parked at blah, blah, blah park? It's really important that once you leave your RV, that you have something that lets these emergency individuals be able to respond and obtain medical information that you may have in your RV. I have a crap load of medical information that's in my RV. Now, if I'm hurt and I'm driving my Suzuki, I have to be able to send those people to my RV so they can obtain my medical information. If, God forbid, like these folks, you're injured, I see, yeah, it shows on lock screen, but I think paper in the wallet is backup, good too, in case phone isn't working. Yeah, if your phone, if you're in an accident and your phone is destroyed, then that's not a reference for them. Having something on you, a piece of paper in your wallet, a piece of paper in your back pocket, anything that says, I'm at, my worry is I get lazy and won't update it. Yeah, and that is a worry. That's mine as well. I was really conscientious about it when I was crossing the border into Mexico, but in the United States, no, I don't. It's, even though on my cell phone, I do have my emergency contacts written, in the case, in the case that it comes in. I always keep a little piece of paper down in here that is written, the phone number for my daughter for an emergency contact. But there are a lot of times I don't take my phone. I don't have good service, or I just forget it, or it's just a quick trip, something like that. An alert bracelet is a really good idea. That's a really good idea, RV Lucky. Remember 100 years ago when we were all like, kids, and we wore ID bracelets, and that meant you were going steady and blah, 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 all that stuff. It might not be a bad idea to have an ID bracelet of some kind, that either has a phone number or something on it in the event that, something goes wrong. And this was a real wake-up call for me, as far as those people and the tragedy of what happened to them. It's really something that I need to appreciate more and take more action to make sure that